Women are tied up, they're bound, duct tape put around their faces, around their mouths. In many cases, they can't even breathe. They're put in the backs of cars or vans or trucks. They don't go through your port of entry. They make a right turn going very quickly. They go into the desert areas or whatever areas you can look at. And as soon as there's no protection, they make a left or a right into the United States of America.
Trump's statements are problematic because what he describes is not the typical human trafficking situation, and his platform has such immense power that people will believe without fact-checking. So we're here to do that fact-checking. There are some common misconceptions about human trafficking that exist. For instance, people tend to believe sex trafficking is more prevalent and or more serious than labor trafficking. They also tend to believe that traffickers use duct tape or rope to tie up their victims, when there are very few recorded instances of the use of duct tape. Often traffickers use force, fraud, or coercion after gaining the victim's trust to entrap them. When talking about victims of trafficking, it is common belief that mainly only women and children are involved. This ignores men who may be victims and conflate women and children into one group. Lastly, it is believed that traffickers only use illegal ports of entry to transport victims, when it is more common that they use legal borders and documents.
Well, I would say my wife tells me I'm wrong all the time.
Definitions of human trafficking were established in the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, also known as the TVPA. The TVPA is a comprehensive federal law to address trafficking in persons. The law uses a three-pronged approach that includes prevention, protection, and prosecution. The TVPA defines trafficking as the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery.
There are three forms of severe means of trafficking, which are force, fraud, and coercion. Force may include physical restraint, physical harm, sexual assault, and beatings. Fraud may include false promises regarding employment, wages, working conditions, love, marriage, or a better life. Coercion may include threats of serious harm against any person, psychological manipulation, and document confiscation.
What are potential solutions? It is important to work with another government rather than against, with the thought that two governments working together rather than against each other in an area such as human trafficking, which is difficult already. There needs to be communication. There could be a bilateral communication and partnership between the Mexican Anti-Trafficking Organization and the TVPA, which is the U.S. organization that protects victims of human trafficking. This could help with prosecution, protection, and prevention through both countries rather than just building a wall. Human trafficking can begin with those brought to the country legally in hopes of the American dream, when in fact they end up in forced labor due to the vulnerabilities of being from another country and not fully understanding their rights. If he really means this statement, then President Trump needs to understand what human trafficking really is, by definition, in order to best fight it. Now that we've looked more into the issue of what human trafficking really is, it's fair to say that Trump's statement about the southern border does not accurately represent the picture of human trafficking to the mass public.